In the headlines, a parliamentary verdict is out. In a resounding vote, the National Assembly has stripped leftist lawmaker Lee Seok-ki of parliamentary immunity from arrest, clearing the way for prosecutors to arrest him on charges of plotting to topple the government. President Park Geun-hye leaves for Russia on the first leg of her two-nation tour, which will also take her to Vietnam. She will attend the G20 summit in St. Petersburg in what would be her debut in multilateral diplomacy. Plus, U.S. President Barack Obama has won the support of key congressional leaders for a limited attack on Syria as he seeks to punish the Assad regime for using chemical weapons against civilians. With these stories and more next on Primetime News. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. It's Wednesday, September 4th here in Korea. Live from Seoul, I am Yoo Ji-hye.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin this evening at the National Assembly where a much-anticipated verdict came down today.
Rival parties have voted for an arrest motion of a left-leaning lawmaker, Lee Seok-ki, accused of plotting to overthrow the government. Yoo Ji-hye reports.
The arrest motion for lawmaker Lee Seok-ki has been passed.
The National Assembly voted to allow leftist lawmaker Lee Seok-ki to be stripped from parliamentary immunity on Wednesday afternoon. The vote was passed with an overwhelming majority. Out of the 289 lawmakers, 258 voted in favor of approving the arrest warrant, while 14 voted against. Parliamentary approval is required by law if prosecutors want to detain a lawmaker while the National Assembly is in session. The far-left lawmaker of the Unified Progressive Party is accused of conspiring to stage an armed revolt and forming an anti-state organization called the Revolutionary Organization, or RO. He allegedly discussed sabotaging the South Korean government and the U.S. military in Korea with members of the RO if war were to break out with the North. With that approval now granted, the court has set the investigation date for Lee for Thursday 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Both the ruling and opposition parties are calling for a prompt investigation.
We voted with a determination to strengthen the foothold and basic order of our country.
We hope that the investigation and trial will be based only on the truth and proof.
Ahead of the vote, Representative Lee denied the allegations and told the Assembly that he never conspired to rebel against the government.
The National Intelligence Service has used conservative media groups to carry out a witch hunt against me. If the National Assembly goes along with the government's fabrication of this conspiracy scandal, it will serve as a stain in history that can never be removed.
On top of the rebellion charges, Lee also faces a parliamentary investigation in an unrelated bribery scandal. Lee has been on the list for evaluation by the Parliamentary Ethics Committee since March for election corruption. The two parties agreed to call the Parliamentary Ethics Committee into session to review Lee's eligibility before the Chuseok holiday on September 19th. Yoo Ji-hye, Arirang News.
For more on the political ramifications of the passage of the arrest motion for leftist lawmaker Lee Seok-ki of the minor opposition Unified Progressive Party, we bring in Dr. Kim Ji-yoon, research fellow at the Assad Institute for Policy Studies here in the studio. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Well, Dr. Kim, with this latest case, some international viewers may be surprised to know of pro-North Korea factors or elements in South Korea. How widespread is this movement and what are its origins?
Well, I can say that it has originated from the back then a democratization movement and the student organizations. And there were two different factions, so-called NL and PD. NL is the one who is pro-North Korea and also, very much ethnic nationalistic sentiment that was shared. And in terms of how widespread it is, well, it was dying out, basically. The student movement has died out, and the NL is quite an old, outdated ideology, and I wouldn't really say that it's widespread in the whole Korean society as of now.
Well, speaking of these party politics, while the ruling Senator Party has been calling on the opposition Democratic Party to take responsibility for supporting the UPP of getting seats at the National Assembly, the DP has been quite reserved and it's been trying to distance itself from the UPP. So are they doing a good job so far?
Well, this is what you have to expect when you're forming a coalition. You may get the electoral benefits, but you have to take a political risk. In the case of DP and UPP coalition, it only gave them liability, actually. They didn't really give the electoral benefits in the general election, National Assembly election, and also either in the presidential election either. The political risk we are just observing now is a huge political damage. Of course, the conservative party side, they're accusing the DP, oh, you're the same boat and you made a coalition with those stupid people and let those people in the National Assembly by providing the outlet. But we have to remember that there's also the criticism from the progressive side on the DP because they are not assertive enough, they're not aggressive enough, and they just yielded and gave up without a fight or investigating in detail.
Well, detractors have alleged that this scandal was designed to take attention away from the current spy agency scandal. Do you think that both sides of the political spectrum are trying to posture for the October elections?
Well, one thing, before I comment on that, one thing I like to emphasize is the NIS scandal should be viewed as a separate one. Simply put, two wrongs don't make one right. So the NIS scandal is also a very serious challenge to the legitimacy of government and institution and electoral democracy. So it should be treated a separate way. In terms of election, well, both sides, the Senator Party and DP will play out on their terms. And as we all know, Senator will probably revisit this Lee Seok-ki event and also in the coalition they made, DP made with UPP. And DP side will probably dig into some more dirt from President Park Geun-hye and the Senator Party. But we have to remember there's a really one important and critical factor, which is Mr. An and his new party. And once his party, get into the game, then it's going to be a huge difference. And he is already a liability to the DP. Once he gets into the game, and very likely he's going to split a progressive vote. While he's, saying that, oh, see, those two major parties are so incapable of doing anything, so I'm the one who can represent those reform-minded, moderate progressives. And that's what he's doing exactly right now.
Well, does Lee Seok-ki represent a significant turning point for Korea? And do you think this case will have some of a long-term effect on the political arena? Well,
interestingly, I think Lee Seok-ki scandal and also the NIS scandal both represent the old traditional Korean politics. So, for example, NIS scandal is very conservative, old conservative terms. And the Lee Seok-ki scandal, that is really old, tried, outdated progressive agenda, like NL, pro-North Korea, etc. So I hope those two scandals both can correct and inform the political elites that what's the new political landscape of Korea look like and how to reposition themselves as conservative and as progressive. So in that sense, I still have some hope.
All right. Well, the hope is that we'll have some more exciting new style politics ahead. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your insight.
Thank you for having me.
The President Park Geun-hye embarked on an 8-day trip to Russia and Vietnam this Wednesday.
She's scheduled to attend the G20 summit in St. Petersburg before heading over to Hanoi for a state visit to Vietnam. Our presidential office correspondent Jin Ju has the details on President Park's next round of diplomacy.
President Park is scheduled to attend the G20 Leaders Summit on Thursday and Friday in the Russian city of St. Petersburg. This year's meeting will mainly focus on addressing the pending economic and financial issues that developed and emerging countries are divided on. Such agenda items include countering the negative effects of Washington's plan to taper its stimulus program, ensuring financial stability, reforming the global financial system, and preventing tax avoidance by multinational firms. Other major topic points will be tackling unemployment and strengthening international development assistance. President Park, at the request of Russian President Vladimir Putin, is expected to make a lead speech in the second working session on Friday, where she will emphasize the importance of international cooperation in creating more jobs amid slowing growth. During her stay, President Park is also scheduled to hold bilateral talks with the leaders of 4 countries: Italy, Germany, Kazakhstan, and Russia. The president will end her Russia trip on Saturday and then fly to Vietnam for a 5-day state visit. She will hold a bilateral summit with her Vietnamese counterpart Tuong Tan Sang on Monday to discuss ways to strengthen cooperation on political, economic, and cultural issues. President Park will also pay a visit to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam's biggest economic city, where some 1,800 Korean companies operate and more than 85,000 Korean residents live. Her trip to Vietnam aims at pushing ahead with her sales diplomacy and emphasizing the importance of the ASEAN region as a long-term economic partner. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News.
With signs of inter-Korean tensions easing in recent weeks, many are wondering whether the North Korean regime has turned over a new leaf.
So is the perception reality? Arirang's Hwang Ji-hye tells us what the experts are saying.
The recent inspection of a North Korean military unit by leader Kim Jong-un was quite different from the ones we're used to seeing. The North's official Korean Central News Agency reported Wednesday that Kim recently took a careful look around the welfare facilities of frontline military units. But it's what he didn't say that's gaining attention, namely that he didn't make any provocative comments while carrying out the inspection. Tensions were running high earlier this year when Pyongyang conducted its third nuclear test, inviting additional UN sanctions against the country. Experts say Pyongyang now seems to be focusing more on the livelihoods of its people and less on provoking its neighbors.
Although this might not mean a fundamental change of the North Korean regime, the interest in the economy among the nation's high-level leaders is escalating.
North Korea has been showing signs of a more soft-line approach recently with the resurgence of inter-Korean talks on the Kaesong Industrial Complex and the reunions of families separated by the Korean War. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman also announced this week that top Chinese nuclear envoy Woo Da-wei exchanged views on resuming the six-party talks with his North Korean counterparts during a visit to Pyongyang last week. Experts say, however, that it's too early to say the recent changes will pave the road for denuclearization of the Korean peninsula.
We're seeing some positive changes in terms of exchanges between the two Koreas, but this doesn't necessarily mean there will be progress in denuclearizing the North. Differences still remain between North Korea, the United States, and other six-party nations.
Experts add that North Korea is putting forth efforts to ensure it isn't isolated any further from the international community and that it considers opening talks with the South a necessary first step forward. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
U.S. President Barack Obama has moved one step closer to winning congressional approval for a limited military strike on Syria. Key members of the Senate committee have agreed on the resolution authorizing the use of force in Syria, while Republican and Democratic leaders in the House have also expressed support. Our Shin Se-min reports.
Key figures in the U.S. Congress on both sides of the aisle have expressed their support for President Obama's plan to punish the Syrian government with a limited military strike.
This is something that the United States as a country needs to do. I'm going to support the president's call for action.
It is really something that, from a humanitarian standpoint, cannot be ignored, or else we cannot say never again.
Congressional leaders were responding to President Obama's call for an authorization for U.S. military intervention in Syria.
This is not Iraq and this is not Afghanistan. This is a limited, proportional step that will send a clear message not only to the Assad regime, but also to other countries that may be interested in testing some of these international norms, that there are consequences.
If President Obama wins approval from both the House and the Senate for his plan, he will have 60 days to strike Syria with one extension of 30 days. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said authorization would not mean that the U.S. was entering Syria's bloody civil war for the long haul.
So let me be clear. President Obama is not asking America to go to war. We all agree there will be no American boots on the ground. The president has made crystal clear we have no intention of assuming responsibility for Syria's civil war.
French President François Hollande has also thrown his support behind U.S.-led military action in Syria. Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said Tuesday that the use of force should be done within the framework of the UN Charter.
We must consider the impact of any punitive measure on efforts to prevent the further bloodshed and facilitate the political resolution of the conflict.
Pan added that he will announce the results of the ongoing investigation on the use of chemical weapons in Syria as soon as the findings are complete. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, the dynamics of the global smartphone industry may be shifting from Microsoft's multi-billion-dollar acquisition of Nokia and the unveiling of major new products by industry heavyweights like Samsung and Apple. Our Kim Ji-yeon has it all covered.
Several game changers at the start of September could be signaling a tectonic shift in the smartphone industry. With Microsoft's purchase of virtually all of Nokia's handset business, including a long-term license of its patent portfolio and its mapping services, it is positioning itself to become a direct rival to Apple and Samsung by as early as next year. Nokia was particularly attractive to Microsoft as it comes with one of the best supply chains in the world. Despite the multi-billion-dollar deal, though, analysts in Seoul have downplayed Microsoft's potential, saying its acquisition will not significantly affect the current market demographics. An analyst for Hyundai Securities highlights the major challenges Microsoft has to face, such as synchronizing its software and hardware divisions without disrupting the ability of the firm to run smoothly. Analysts also say Microsoft's move is a sign software firms will continue to seek out struggling hardware and handset businesses like Nokia and BlackBerry. They say it could be a good sign for Samsung since it cuts down the competition in the already saturated handset business. Microsoft's purchase of Nokia comes as the tech world is abuzz for the latest releases from Samsung and Apple. Samsung's upcoming smartwatch, the Galaxy Gear, is expected to make its debut this week, and Apple will unveil its latest iPhone models next week. Not much is known about the Galaxy Gear as yet, as the Korean firm has been working hard to keep it under wraps, but it's said to be deeply integrated with users' smartphones, providing a second screen on the wrist so users don't have to reach into their pockets or purses. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Is Korea better known for its traditions or its modernity? Well, global experts weighed in on this question at the 4th Annual Culture Communication Forum earlier this week. Connie Lee was there and she files us this report.
Korea, the land of the morning calm, is most commonly known to the world for its cell phones, its impressive conglomerates, or K-pop. Or, with its 5,000 years of history, does the world see the nation for its ancient royal narrative and hearty cuisines, or is it more widely known for its threatening neighbor to the north? In any case, Korea is apparently known for both the traditional cultural elements and the modern.
In a survey we conducted, we asked people what they thought of Korea. Both foreigners and locals alike answered that Korea is a country that's a blend of modern and traditional elements. So I thought that this would be a good topic for this year's forum.
The Culture Communication Forum, hosted by the Korea Image and Communication Institute, kicked off this week with cultural experts from all over the globe who came together to discuss how the convergence of both traditions and modernity can formulate a lasting image of Korea to the world. This year's three-day forum invited 16 experts in fields such as food, literature, music, and art. But before Tuesday's discussion session got underway, the invited experts got to experience both the old and new Korea. From visiting royal palaces and checking out royal cuisine, the guests got a taste of Korean history.
Very nice, very tasty. It was very interesting to see that how the Koreans are protecting their traditions.
The guests also took a trip to modern Korea by visiting one of the most innovative companies in the nation. Hyundai Card, known for organizing massive pop concerts, also prides itself for its ingenuity.
But it's interesting how holistic their approach is, how it's a 360 approach. You know, there was music, there was culture, there was design, books, reading.
The experts say that traditions should naturally converge into the modern.
Whatever we are today, the past is superimposed on our present.
The Korean representative of the forum and actor Park Geun-hye says there shouldn't be a distinction between the old and the new.
I think when we naturally and creatively produce culture, it connects with the past.
The amazing thing about Seoul and Korea is that mix of modern and traditional. I mean, if you walk down the street, you see like temples from very ancient time, and you also see someone like playing modern music or dancing. I'm really amazed by what I saw.
Connie Lee, Arirang News.
The players on the South Korean national men's football team are training and competing for playing time ahead of their match against Haiti on Friday.
And Stephen Che joins us from the Sports Center for the latest on that story and others. Stephen.
Hey guys, with the addition of players from European leagues, manager Hong Myung-bo is busy trying to come up with his starting 11. Hong gave his squad the afternoon off on Tuesday, but on Wednesday, the South Korean manager got back to testing two formations. The one striker on top plan may see Ji Dong-won or Jo Dong-gun lead the attack, while the zero top plan features Gu Ja-chul in the forward position. And with the likely placement of Lee Chung-yong and Son Heung-min on the wings, with Kim Bo-kyung playing the central midfield, the squad is shaping up to take on Haiti in 2 days' time. Over to Major League Baseball, the Cincinnati Reds' Chu Shin-soo recorded 3 walks on 4 trips to the plate in his team's 1-0 home win over the St. Louis Cardinals on Tuesday. It was the 4th game this season in which he took 3 free bases and the 10th straight game in which he reached base safely. Chu has now been walked 91 times, second most in the MLB, behind teammate Joey Votto, and improved his on-base percentage to .417, which is good for 4th in the league. And rounding the bases, let's take a look at Wednesday's top KBO matchup. The SK Wyverns and the LG Twins went head-to-head in Seoul. The Wyverns send Baek-in-sik to the mound, the Twins Shin Jae-ung. Now we go to the 4th. It's SK's Kim connection. Kim Gang-min on second, then Kim Sang-hyun doubles to score the run. Wyverns up 1-0 in the 6th. LG has man on second, and Chung Sung-hoon doubles to bring him home. Scores level 1-1. Then in the 9th, Twins with 2 on, Lee Byung-gyu sent everyone home with this walk-off single, and the Twins go on to win this one with a final score of 2-1. And now let's take a look at scores from around the league. We have Kia defeating Samsung 7-5. Nexon leads this one over Lotte 5-2 in the top of the 9th. And Tusan over Hanwha 7-5. That does it for me here in the Sports Center. This has been Stephen Che. Check back at midnight for the latest in the world of sports.
Before your day ends and another begins, get the latest news live from Seoul.
Residents whose features restrictions is on the rise. Closing ceremony.
Expert analysis from Asia's heartbeat.
The legislature, circumstances.
With a viewpoint only Korea's global network can provide.
The United States, the latest report.
Unrivaled access from a team always on standby.
This meeting came on the news are trying to cover up the South's true intentions.
Now let's go over to our Kim Bo-kyung for updates on the weather. Bo-kyung, I understand that tropical storm Toraji has dissipated.
That's right, Sean. Toraji has arrived in Japan but missed Korea.
But here there's another storm coming up.
Yes, Ji-hye, there may be another storm heading our way in late September, and I'll be sure to update you on that in future newscasts. Now, moving on to our satellite map, the tropical storm Toraji has fortunately missed us, but due to its indirect effects, high sea warnings have been issued in the East Sea and near Jeju Island. I know that many of you were hesitant to take part in outdoor activities in recent weeks due to all the heat, but it seems like the rest of this week should be a perfect chance to enjoy some sunshine. Tomorrow we have more early fall weather in the forecast, and there should be a temperature gap of 13 degrees. Taking a closer look at tomorrow's readings, Seoul, Daegu, and Gwangju should get to 27 degrees, and Busan should get up to 26. Moving on to other regions, Daejeon and Jeju should make it to the mid-20s. Meanwhile, Dokdo and Mangkumgang top out at 22 and 23 degrees, respectively. That's all for now, but tune in for another update after midnight.
And that's our broadcast on this Wednesday night. I'm Yoo Ji-hye in Seoul.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening. We'll see you soon.